I'm excited to see that over the next few days. And we also have the NFL officials here. And so it's good to have a whole crew here, certainly going through some of the new changes and educating the team on the new things that'll be affecting the game. So it's a really fun 3 days. So we're really looking forward to getting rolling with the guys. So all that said, let's crank it up and get started.
Hey, Dan, can you give us an update on Johnny Newton?
Yes. So Johnny's had the procedure done on his foot. He's hitting all the markers that he's supposed to hit. He's able to do light working out, and then we'll keep progressing him all the way up until training camp. But no decisions, been made yet in terms of the start of camp or not. So we'll take that kind of week by week as it's going. But he's hitting all the right markers.
And then you had some kickers in today. I think another one's going to be visiting too. Where does that stand right now?
Well, I think at the top of it, just like at all the spots, John, like the competition part of it to go. And so we'll keep digging in, over the next few days, and certainly as we're preparing into camp, not just there, but all over. And but yeah, we will include Lucas as part of a tryout for the next couple of days as well.
Coach, obviously the expectation out here is that Jayden will eventually be the starting quarterback for the team. What do you need to see from him to give you confidence as you move towards perhaps that ultimate decision?
Yeah, I think what's important for Jayden and some of his teammates, especially the young guys coming in, as the reps are now happening, how are you doing in the execution of those, whether that's playing quarterback or tackle or nickel or safety. And so the expectation is just to see, how familiar he is with the concepts, making sure, all right, this one we want to keep, this one, we don't, in terms of, the things that he has the most comfort with. So I think just really running the system now. Obviously, you see us at the line of scrimmage some, we huddle some. So we put in a big package. Now it's about execution of it.
And you mentioned before kind of having these thoughts in your mind from Atlanta to now of your second time around and what you would do different and how would you go about that? How do you feel this second time around is going? And is there anything you can point to for us that kind of says this is what's different from the last time I did this job?
Yeah, boy, what a great question. I would say the first thing that I probably noticed is really the work of the players. I thought they've thrown a hell of an offseason. We asked them a lot early on, create some standards together, and I've really been impressed by the work and the skill work that they've put in. From a coaching staff-wise, it was a great thing to hear. One of the Bill Walsh fellows who had been in here for the few days, he said, you would have never known that you just came together just a few months ago as a staff. Being around everybody, it felt like they'd been around each other for years. So that made me feel good knowing that these guys are connected on the field and off, because the players see that as well. To see a coaching staff that's connected, they'll feel that same example that applies to the locker room.
At this point in the offseason, are you still kind of tinkering and experimenting with the secondary just to see what you have back there, or do you kind of know?
No, absolutely. This is now, and actually through the first 3 or 4 weeks of training camp, there'll still be that to find out the right things, the right patterns, and it won't be just 11. There'll be 15, 16, 17 guys that'll have a role. 3 safeties, 4 big D linemen, 3 backers, 2 backers. So not just at the secondary, but at a number of the spots too that we're still pushing.
And because you still don't have pads yet, what do you want to see from the lines and the running backs?
Yeah, I think what I want to see is just the execution of the system. So for the big guys, they've had only 3 of the time where it's been all 11 on 11. They've worked their ass off on all the skill work and all the sets. So although we can't do that full speed, what we can do is at a good teaching pace, execution, the fits. And if we can get that part right, now we can play fast. And so I want to make sure assignment-wise, that's what I'm looking for from the group right now with the big guys.
Every player attended the organized team activities. How does that help you as you embark on the mandatory minicamp?
I think, one, the skill work that goes into it, and knowing that this time of year, that's what we're after. We've added a second layer to that because we're installing, 3 new phases offensively, defensively, and on the team side. So seeing those guys learn the system. So now when we do get to camp, we can really apply what we've learned and build that connection that's needed.
What are the subtle things that Jayden can show you on the field that show that mastery of the system?
I would say at times getting out of a bad play, here comes a blitz to this side, get to the check, get to something else, knowing where to go with the correct read. And at the end of it, it's just having command. Honestly, it's whether it's in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage. And the nice part, what you do see, this is a guy who's had a lot of starts and a lot of experience. That showed up early for when he first started here, and it continues right now. And I think when you guys are watching practice, you'll feel that as well.
And with the 15 defenders you were talking about, is that something, how similar is that to what you did in Dallas? And is that something you communicate to guys about, hey, we see this is your role and it's going to be kind of like this? How do you communicate that to players?
Yeah, I think that's one of the important parts, because as any ball player, knowing what my role is for the team and what does the team need to be counted on and what unique things can I bring. So once we've established that, then we'll kind of say, hey, this has to go down at the highest level, this specific thing that you're just excellent at. So we're not there yet. There's still a lot of experimentation to go, the fits, the people, the techniques, and that's kind of what this is about. And so there'll be some times when you may see, well, that wasn't a good play or a good completion, but like there's still information to find out and what you can do. And so those are things that you set up matchups and you set up, I guess just unique plays to see a player in a special spot.
You can't see everything right now with the running backs because of the no pads, but we've got Brian Robinson and McLaurin combination. Kind of liking that. So.
A lot. And I think what you get across from seeing the two, they're different, but both have really high standards of the things they've done. One of the advantages of going through what let's call it a passing camp for the spring, because that's really what it is. I think Brian's developed into that spot, and to have somebody that's as accomplished in the passing game as Austin, you can imagine how you'd benefit from that. So to see Brian this involved in the passing game through this time of year, that was one of the things in his work-ons that he wanted to do, and you see that come to life.
Last year was a rock bottom year.
What's that? Oh, the first pitch, lots to discuss there. We had a lot of fun and a lot of practice. It was actually my first time at a Nationals game, so it was a really cool venue to be a part of. So it's a good thing he's throwing here and not down at the ballpark. Someone had another one? Yep.
Last year was kind of a rock bottom here for a lot of players, but previous to that, they had shown real promise. How do you balance going through with guys last year's film versus what happened before that and getting them back to that point?
You know what? I didn't really discuss much from the past, and I wasn't here, so I don't have a way to compare into that. And so every year is different. So what I can say is this is what I've seen from this part moving forward and finding all the unique stuff that it does have. So all I was looking for to say, I've got fresh eyes, no bias on what happened or what could happen. I just want to see what your best looks like. And that's what now and into training camp is for. So that's why this is such an important camp for us. This is our last time together before we go to training camp. And I really want to see a lot of the learning, the technique, the communication, the speed. And then when we get to training camp, we'll add the physicality part to that.
How's the response been to that kind of fresh opportunity?
Like I said, the energy that you've been around, you feel the guys. I love their connection together, and offensively, defensively, teams, the way they're merging. This is not a separate country unto themselves. These are one group of guys, although they're competing against one another. Like that's how we will get better. Days and like the next 3 where we get to compete against each other just a little bit, and as we get ready for training camp.
Dan, for several years, Terry McLaurin has been the consistent presence in the locker room and on the field for this franchise. As you're getting to know him, what do you appreciate about Terry, and what does he bring to this team that you've noticed?
Well, I'd say number one, there's an incredible player there. I think for all of us here, we recognize how good a player he is. I wish all of you could see the man that he is. Like, this is a hell of a ball player, but behind the scenes, what he stands for, the professionalism that he has, the detail that he goes to get things done. The team could be really well set to get a lot of Terry McLaurins. And he's been an excellent pro for us, and seeing some of the young guys, not just offensively, but as new players are here, he's got great standards about him. And I think that's one of the best things you look for in a professional.
When you took over, you used the word recalibration. Where are you at with that stage, and what have you seen in that regard? I think,
number one, there's always going to be some tweaking and adjusting to go. But I think for this group of players and coaches, they've absolutely nailed this offseason. Could we throw the best offseason any of them have ever had? That's a ball player and a coach. And so we really tried to push one another to new spots and connect better. And by and large, I think we've seen that. And so after we get done this camp, we'll kind of do the same thing to reset, find some spots, and then we'll go after training camp in exactly the same way. The breaks, they're important because our times together in the NFL, and you guys know this, they're very intense. And so you go for it as hard as you can, max that out, take a break, get ready, and then come do it again. But I really challenged everybody, could we throw the best offseason every one of them have ever had? And that meant for the veterans to bring along the new players, and then for the new players to get extra work in so they could get up to speed more quickly. It meant for the coaches to be more connected than they've ever have. And so I asked a lot of that, but I've been really pleased with what I've seen. And we'll push it hard for these days. Then we'll take that break. And then when we come back, we'll go for it as hard as you've ever seen anybody going for it.
Dan, Randon Walker with NPR. Piggybacking off of Scott's question, you said you wish we could see behind the scenes like how Terry McLaurin is as a person. The media has given him the Good Guy Award a couple of times, but what is it that you've seen in the short time that you've been with him that we don't necessarily get to see? And what would you like the younger players to take away from him, like from what you've seen?
Sure. Well, I'll give you one example because I showed it this morning in a team meeting. I showed each of the players out here, they have what's called a work on. This is the one thing that I wanted to do better as I get to this offseason. So collectively, we're trying to develop the whole crew, coaching staff as well. And I had showed Terry after the catch was one of the things he wanted to get, sharpen up to say, can I get more explosive plays by doing that? And then I saw these practices, deliberate moves after the catch to go. So here was a player that had a plan. Now he's putting into action. And I think we'll kind of know what the result's going to be. Like he will kick ass because of this is what I want to do. This is the action I'm taking. And now I think we'll see that come to life. So I think that showed me the example to this player. No matter how good you are, there's a spot to go to get better. And when you got a big gap to get better, that happens fast. But when you're already an excellent player, those little margins are small and you got to work your ass off to get to that next spot. So I think that's one of the examples.
And as you get ready for these last 3 days of veteran minicamp, is there something that you want to see different out of anybody?
I think you'll see some that's more, and we may feature some guys into some different positions to say, is that a possibility? Is that something we can see? You'll see some situation work with the officials here. So I do want to see us nail those. You've heard us talk about that through the offseason. That was important for us. So you'll see some real game situations take place today with these officials being here with us 3 days. I want to find out what we've learned, how we're ready to execute, and knowing that in our league, like I think it was last year, 70% of the games were 8 points or less. You better nail those end of the game, end of the half moments, because when you do, the consequences will be there for you to, to allow yourself to have these big plays to go win.
And second time as a head coach, if you self-evaluate at all, what do you think you're doing better this time around in this phase?
Yeah, I think knowing that there's a really deep, strong crew from coaching and through Adam is my ability to delegate and then keep my attention and my focus solely onto the players and push the coaches to find those things. What does it look like for another player to try new things, to go into new spaces? So it's allowed me to really kind of keep everything right in the middle. And that's a really good feeling knowing that you have that much trust with a guy like Adam on the personnel side and the coaches. So it's allowed me to really connect with the players, because when you have 91 guys here, it's not that easy to build a connection with that many people. So that takes time. And so it's allowed me to be that space with them.
And did you guys go over film of the first pitch at all?
We did not, but I imagine it's in the film cans, as you would say in the news, but it's in the can somewhere, and it may show itself out at one point or another, but it has not yet. So we'll certainly keep that in our back pocket. When they say 3 questions, that doesn't mean your one can be 3, just so we're clear for the next time.
I'll see you later.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Go ahead. How would I say whom? Who? No, I'm just kidding. There's other. Here's what I say. This guy came in with really excellent football characteristics in terms of command and huddle and vision to go. I think probably what you don't see is the amount of offense and defense, that the coaches put in. And so for him to absolutely nail that and to go early to say, I have that, I have it. There was a lot of work put in from the studying spot. So I would say not only does the physical traits show up, it's the work ethic, I think, that goes behind. I think through the years and through the season, you guys will feel that and see that. This is a guy that really puts it in. And so that goes a long way to any other player on the team to know that, hey, man, we're all putting it in at this space. But it takes extra at that position, and he's definitely down for that.